Entitled fans or ambitious supporters, Kris Boyd and Chris Sutton unable once again to agree, and this time over the Celtic fans' protest of the board. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Football. Another disagreement with Chris Sutton and Kris Boyd, but hey, what is new in Scottish football? These two ever agreed? Probably not. I know a lot of people don't like listening to Boyd and Sutton. They think it's unprofessional, but I actually do enjoy the banter between the two that we get on Sky Sports, and I think it adds something to the coverage. And I personally do like the digs. I do like the jags. I do like the insults and the little bit of tension and the drama that these two have. Compare it to the English game, where everybody's just sitting there and afraid to cause any trouble or afraid to upset anybody. And English football is boring. At least with Boyd and Sutton. At least they do go back and forward, and it does get fiery at times, and I like it. But here, Chris Sutton, he wasn't having it when Boyd said that the Celtic fans are entitled. He thinks that the fans just want to know where their money's going. The fans want to have some sort of transfer plan and know what the plan is from the board. And I can see both points. Boyd thinks that no other fans in Scotland act the way that Celtic fans do. But I guess when you've dominated Scotland for the last 15 years and you're used to winning trophy after trophy, and in some cases 4 seasons in a row where you've done a quadruple treble, then you're going to get used to winning trophies and you're going to expect to keep winning trophies. And I think if you look at money spent, I believe Celtic fans do spend more money on their team than any other team any other fans in the country. When it comes to ticket prices, I think theirs tend to be slightly more than Rangers, and so yeah, maybe they are entitled to see what the board's doing and what the board's transfer plans are. But honestly, for me, sack the board. I think the protests and some of the language that we've seen being used over the past few weeks is way too far. It was a poor transfer window. I accept that. But, I mean, move on. Sometimes you have good transfer windows. Sometimes you have bad transfer windows. It happens in football. But we know that Celtic fans aren't happy with the board, with the likes of Dermot Desmond, Peter Loyal. They seem to want them gone. And Sutton now and Kris Boyd, they had an argument over it on Sky Sports. Sutton said the following, quote, "I think the club hierarchy need to have a greater dialogue with the supporters. The supporters pay their hard-earned money. They rock up, they buy merchandise, and when that statement was put out on Saturday evening, I think any Celtic supporter would have felt really angered," end of quote. And you know what, I can agree with that from Sutton. I think that the board certainly could have come out and explained better. That statement on Saturday night, it was piss poor. It was pretty much just a bunch of excuses, a bunch of lies, bringing up UEFA, financial fair play. I think it would be better to release no statement rather than release a statement that is quite clearly full of shit. So I thought that was a horrible statement from the board, and I just don't see the point of them releasing it. Maybe they felt they had to release something, so they did it on Saturday night to try and upload it and publish it at the time where at least people would see it, and then hope by Monday that it was forgotten about. But it actually probably made things worse, to be honest, with the bad timing, the poor timing of the statement. That probably made the statement feel even worse than it actually was. Anyway, Boyd then replied to Sutton, and he says, quote, "I get that people are saying the board and everything need to be more transparent with the club, but I don't see it with any other club. Why do Celtic fans seem to have an entitlement for the board to speak and tell them what they are doing every time?" End of quote. And I agree with Boyd as well there to a certain extent. I mean, you look at Scottish football, how many boards really come out and lay out their plan, and how many boards come out and have to explain themselves to the fans time and time again after every transfer or every exit from a competition? You don't really see that. You don't really see boards having to bow down and explain themselves to supporters and fans. But it does seem like Celtic fans seem to want that a lot from their board. They seem to want explanations for everything that goes wrong. But in football, sometimes you have to take the highs with the lows. Every time something good happens at a club, you don't expect a statement from the board. So at the same time, every time there's a negative thing happen, do you really need the board to come out and justify why it happened, or explain why it happened, or even give excuses why it happened? Probably not. So I can see both sides here. Sutton then went on to say the following. He says, quote, "So everybody wants to know what the plan is. We are talking about Celtic's transfer policy. Everybody has been in the dark about that. There doesn't seem to be a plan. There doesn't seem to be a strategy. If their fans pay their hard-earned money, they are sort of entitled in a way to know what is going on and what the club's process is with that. I think we understand what other clubs' transfer policies are and the way other clubs run. Nobody understands what Celtic are playing at. Why can't the fans be ambitious? End of quote. And again, I mean, I do agree with Boyd, Sutton there to an extent. The fans are paying their hard-earned money. There is no football clubs without fans. Clubs need the fans. I get that. But I don't really recall all these other clubs coming out and all the boards coming out and laying out their transfer plans exactly. Again, I get it. It wasn't a great window. But if you look at Celtic's rivals across the... What's Rangers' transfer plan? They don't... Under Russell Martin, they don't seem to have one. Is it bring in young players and try and grow them? Is it bring in loan players from England that you're not going to benefit from when they improve because they're going to go back to their parent club? Is it like bring in free agents? I mean, what's the deal at Rangers, you know, and all the other clubs as well? I mean, at least at Hearts, we know that they're using the Jamestown analytics, and I get that, and I'm grateful for that, but that seems to just be a certain set of analytics. There's still no real way forward, and I understand that they've wanted to bring in players and be able to sell them on for profit in the future, but you look at the goalkeeper they brought in, Alexander Shilolo, it's like, he's 33, you ain't going to sell him on for profit, so that doesn't necessarily fit the whole, build and bring in youngsters and sell them on for profit. And I think for a while that has been Celtic's kind of motto, isn't it? Bring in players for a few million and then sell them on for 15, 20 after a few years. That seems to be the Celtic module, and maybe they've got away from that in the last transfer window, but again, I think everybody can have a bad transfer window, and I believe that's all that Celtic had. It was a poor window. It wasn't great. I accept that. I think Celtic fans would accept that. The board would accept that. But Taneki looks pretty good, so you know what? I would honestly just move on. It's one bad transfer window. I'd forget about it. And maybe if you get multiple transfer windows in a row that are pretty poor, then that's one thing. But yeah, I think there's been way too much made of this. So let me know what you guys think down below. It wasn't a good window, but it happens to every club. Every club has bad transfer windows, and Celtic are no different. So yeah, that's my opinion. Let me know what you guys think down below. But I do agree to a certain extent with both Boyd and Sutton. They're both making valid points, so I can see both sides of the coin here. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think down below. And I mean, what does Celtic want? Do they want the board to leave? This board's brought them so much success, so many trophies. It's like, yeah, I mean, reel it in a little bit. Yeah, you could have done better in Europe over the years. You could have spent a bit more money over the years, but this board, I think any other fan in Scotland, they could not possibly dream of having the success that Celtic's had over the last 15 years. So, I think they do need to actually appreciate the good things this board have done for the club. And it could be a hell of a lot worse. Be careful what you wish for. This Celtic board could leave, and they could bring in a board that is 10 times worse, and all your success and trophies could begin to dry up. You never know. So, yeah, I would just appreciate the good while it's happening. And right now, things are good for Celtic. They're successful and they're winning, so yeah, and they're on top. They're the best team in Scotland by a large distance, so I'd appreciate that. Anyway, that's it. Till next time, peace.